buttercup squash. That was developed at NDSU, still the #1 in the nation in a squash, winter squash variety. And later on, he developed the different varieties, about 50, 60 different horticultural plant varieties. And later, other faculty members, including Neil Holland, who's retired now, is running Chiwon Gardens. He developed the squash variety called the Golden Nugget. That's an all-American selection winner. And it's kind of we are very proud of that. In addition, a lot of tomato varieties, Cheyenne, Dakota Gold, and Lark, and we have some of those varieties being tried at NDSU.
Also with the Entrepreneurial Center for Horticulture and with the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association, along with farms in Medina, to put together a project involving NDSU plant breeders, seed producers, farmers market growers, to conduct organic variety trials of 5 different vegetable crops. And we surveyed the farmers market growers in the state to figure out which crops they would be most interested in seeing variety trials on. And so we're doing variety trials on, as Dr. Lee mentioned, tomatoes and peppers, cucumbers, green beans, and carrots. And the idea is to have the trials at NDSU, but also have what we call daughter trials on each of the farms. So each of those farms is doing 1 replication of 2 crops. Each of those farmers chose which crops out of those 5 they would like to focus on. So they chose 2 crops and each planted the 10 different varieties. So we've got the NDSU trials, but then also the on-farm trials. And the purpose is to identify the varieties that not only meet the local climatic and environmental challenges, but also maybe fit different production windows, because most farmers market growers want to have a continuous supply of vegetables that they're able to bring to market. Novel crops that maybe fit niche markets, and varieties that have highly marketable traits.
I'm going to be just introducing the value-added grains for local and regional food systems project. We just shorten that to value-added grains. It's funded by the OREI, the Organic Research and Education Initiative, USDA's program. And we are working to help organic farmers, artisan bakers, chefs, restaurateurs, millers, any food processors that are interested in this material, to get these grains into our food system and really back into farms across the country. Another great thing, we had some of Lewis's North Dakota Common Emmer, and it was at a tasting we sponsored at the International Culinary Institute in New York City. And that pasta made from this Emmer, which is a precursor of durum wheat, blew away the chefs and restaurateurs at that Culinary Institute, and the demand for Emmer has been right there. In terms of these ancient grains, one of the great things apparently, and it may have something to do with the hull protection, they actually are performing for us very well in terms of wheat scab and other leaf diseases in the Northeast under pretty heavy pressure. This year we just got blasted with water, May, June, all through NPSAS. So, but the ancient grains, not across the board, but not across all the land races and so forth, but they seem to be much more disease resistant.
Just as Elizabeth said, North Dakota has been the heart of Emmer production. Our forefathers, when they came here, they brought they hid a lot of that seed in their socks, and they started growing it. It's because what they knew back at home, the German Russians. And they did well. It was an excellent livestock feed. Part of the collection here that we have at the research center is seed that I collected from farmers as they still had remnant seed on their farm. Particularly, a lot of them were from different areas of the country, but like in the areas like Wishick and stuff like that. Actually, McIntosh County has been dubbed way back in the early 1900s by the government when they were doing studies as one of the best places to grow Emmer. That is why we have Emmer. And as Elizabeth's right, Emmer does much better. Now, I didn't mention this, and it also is, it shows you something about with Mike's oats over there. We did wait for rain here. Finally did get some 1 week ago. When I came out here Tuesday morning, 1 week ago, to do the organic inspection, my heart was sad. Most of all these grains, in particular the seeding rate trials, which were seeded slightly earlier than this, the stage was so important. In the oats, it was flat, but it came back up. 70-mile-an-hour winds with that 70 hundredths of rain. But that is the biggest thing, probably the biggest problem that Emmer has, no matter where we move, even to organic farms. At first I thought I was okay in organic farms because we didn't have this big lush of nitrogen. Either we're doing something right out here or whatever, but we are starting, lodging is the worst problem. But now as we look down in here, you'll see some different types. And what we might want to do is in some of these high yielding environments is not grow the Emmers that we're growing out here in North Dakota, but grow some of the shorter Emmers that come from India. They're earlier maturing, they may not lodge. That might be what we need to do in these high yielding environments.
The quality of the protein for monogastric nutrition is quite good because it is high in lysine relative to the other cereals. So it provides almost a complete protein for both human and other monogastric animals. We didn't really know why this occurred until some work was done. Our modern biotechnology told us that the protein in oats, in oat endosperm, is really more similar in terms of its amino acid content to the protein in legumes, such as soybeans and peas.
First of all, I'd like to thank Steve for assisting me as part of my selection grant to help all of you get a pea variety that we can call our own. Steve provided the resource of the research center here to do that, and I thank him for doing that because this is probably the most efficient way and that all of you can actually even assist in some of these decisions. Also, Byron, I need to thank Byron specifically and Pulse USA for stepping up to the plate some time ago when he realized the magnitude of the usage of the organic producers in being able to utilize field peas. He came step forward and said, hey, what can I do to help? And I always kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and I guess when the time came and I suggested that maybe we start doing some pea varietal development that we could call maybe our own, he stepped right up to the plate right away and offered. So Byron, I thank you for that.
And what she's doing in this project, it is 2 Ukrainian buckwheat varieties. We got very small amounts. And so she's going to show you pictures of the increase on her farm, and Rick has one on hers. The whole object will be to first increase these lines and then put them in variety trials to see if they will perform to our varieties. And then these 2 farmers will increase seed, hopefully, if they pan out.
Yeah, my thing is I want better buckwheat. I want buckwheat that'll come back even better after hail. I want buckwheat with bigger seeds. So this is just part of a process of trying to do that.
There's 2 weeds in our country that are prevalent, and maybe they are throughout North Dakota, but they really are in the sand down there, and that's creeping jenny. Another thing where the soil gets heavier is Canadian thistle. And we don't have a big problem with Canadian thistle, but we do have a small amount of it on our heavier soils in different places. But the 2 crops that work well, if you're ever going to find something to work well in controlling them too, or keeping them under check, is buckwheat and rye. If you use them in a combination, they work better than anything. I guess if I would say, if you use Roundup on my farm, that's my Roundup, is buckwheat and rye in my rotation because of its competitiveness.